I can project, it's fine. All right, thanks folks for gathering here today. My name is Brennan Kane. I'm a policy advisor with Blue Green Alliance. We are a national organization that unites labor and environmental organizations to help create jobs in the clean economy. We're here today at the UA Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 110 to talk about potential in Virginia's offshore wind industry. It's going to create good-paying union jobs and reduce emissions. The Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law just last week. It will do a lot more than just fight inflation. This is a good jobs and a clean economy bill. It's going to create high-road labor jobs across the clean economy, including in offshore wind. It's going to revitalize U.S. manufacturing and grow the clean economy around the country, creating good-paying union jobs we all need, and it's going to give workers opportunities to move up in a middle-class life. In addition, it will support greater economic and racial justice across the board. The Inflation Reduction Act demonstrates that we don't have to choose between a clean economy and good jobs. We can and we need to do both. It's going to invest in building the offshore wind industry. Across the board, this legislation includes a 30% tax credit for offshore wind construction, and it expands for the first time at manufacturing credits that do just that work. We've got a whole list of speakers that I'm very excited to introduce to you today. But the first is Congresswoman Luria. She is a champion for climate advocacy. She created the Offshore Wind Caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives. She is a member of the New Democratic Coalition, Climate Change Task Force, and advocates for policies that get us closer to net zero emissions. Before she was in office, she served for 20 years in the Navy as a nuclear-trained surface warfare officer. I think I got that right. And continues to be a leader with her constituents and among her peers. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce Congresswoman Luria.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here at the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Great to see Chris Baguli, and had great opportunities to visit here before and tour the Veterans in Piping program. You can see the great signs up here, and even one of the sailors who worked for me when I was the XO on USS Anzio was participating in the program at the time, and through the apprenticeship programs here has found a new career field and great work, and become part of the workforce here at Hampton Roads. So we want to keep those veterans here, give them the training that can help them move on to new careers, and offshore wind is a great way to do that. We understand that not only are we building the first project in federal waters, we're building the largest project here on the East Coast. It's one of 14, perhaps more because there have been new leases, but 14 between North Carolina and Maine, and it's a great opportunity to build that workforce, to be the first in this type of development, and to bring huge economic opportunity here across the region. We have Kathy Vick here from the Port of Virginia. The bipartisan infrastructure package has provided funding, for example, to the port, about $20 million. That'll go into the work that's necessary at Portsmouth Marine Terminal to bring Siemens Gamesa, which is one of the largest European blade manufacturers, to build a manufacturing facility right here in Hampton Roads. Again, that's good jobs to be able to not only provide clean energy to try to reach the administration's goal of 30 gigawatts by 2030, and we have a huge potential here, not only to produce clean energy off the coast of Virginia, but to provide good jobs and diversify our economy. When we talk about Hampton Roads and some of the challenges that we have so much military, shipbuilding, repair, things that are wonderful, can keep us a vibrant place, but we're always looking for new opportunities to bring new jobs. And this is very exciting with the Blue Green Alliance and their emphasis on the crossover between growing the economy, providing good jobs in our region, and something that is good for the future of our environment and clean energy. As part of my work in Congress, I've really tried to push for the development of offshore wind. As I said, there's 14 projects between North Carolina and Maine. There's projects on the West Coast, projects being planned in the Gulf of Mexico. And this is one of those issues where we can create clean energy around the country. And it's a very bipartisan issue. I created a bipartisan offshore wind caucus to bring together from the federal level all of those issues, as well as the agencies and departments in our government which are required to make these projects successful and get them off the ground. If you think about it, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, NOAA, Coast Guard, Army Corps of Engineers, the list is very long. And there's a lot of hurdles for a first-of-kind project like this to get it moving, to get the permitting complete. And when you talk about industry, they need reliability, they need consistency, and they need to understand that things are going to happen on time in order to make those investments in our region and in our workforce. So bringing all of those things together from a legislative perspective, it's both coasts in the Gulf of Mexico, it's bipartisan, and we are growing every day and bringing industry, labor, and others together with the federal agencies to make sure that we can make these offshore wind projects successful. So I just want to say thank you to the plumbers and pipe fitters, for hosting us today, for providing the great training that they do, and this will be yet another job opportunity. And we've had the opportunity to visit other training programs and facilities across the region. We visited at Centura College the other day. I got to climb the wind turbine training platform because not only are there the skills with the trades, there's the skills of working at heights as well as the maritime training. We've been to the maritime training school here. There's some Coast Guard certifications required. There's just a lot that people are going to need as far as training to be able to work in the offshore wind industry, and we want to bring together a partnership. And as you can see, we have so many people here. We have Gil Bland from the Urban League. We want these job opportunities to go to everyone across our community, and just want to thank everyone who's here today for being part of that. And again, really looking to make this part of that goal for the administration to reach 30 gigawatts by 2030. Recent legislation we've passed, such as the bipartisan infrastructure package, will help pave the way for that. For the manufacturing facility here, as you mentioned, the Inflation Reduction Act, that might be the name, but it's a huge environmental bill that includes a lot of things, such as the tax credits necessary to make these kind of developments viable. So thank you. Thank you to everyone here and everyone in labor for being part of this, because we know the opportunities that it will create. So I'll turn it back over to you, because I know we have several other folks who are going to share the benefits of this project and the recent legislation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here. Next up, I'd like to introduce our host for today, Chris Bagali, Business Manager for UA Local 110.
Let me get this phone right.
You can bring it up here, it's fine.
I'd be the first one to tell everybody to turn their phone off. Jason had written me something to read, but I don't have it with me.
That was a quote for the press release.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. The offshore wind is a really big undertaking. Thanks for all your help on it, Elaine. I told Elaine, we personally may not get a lot of work out of it because it's not a fossil fuel. That's been our bread and butter for hundreds of years. But we will get work out of it. We'll change our ways to adapt to a world that is greener. And we know fossil fuel's on its way out, but we also know that the fossil fuel that we're using now, we're going to have to maintain them lines and all that. So as we make our adjustments in this transition, we're going to do the best we can to adapt to a greener world. And I appreciate people like Elaine working on projects like this, because it's not just us, it's other crafts in the area. The electricians are probably going to really benefit from it very good. The iron workers, the maritime workers that are out there, they're going to be trucking people and equipment and all that back and forth. And as was said, they're really good paying jobs, and it's great for the economy. Anybody who knows anything about the power grid, it always can use an upgrade, even here in Tidewater. Same thing with all our natural, the gas that we use, any of that stuff. And hopefully we can keep them jobs as good paying jobs and move Tidewater into the future like it should be. That's all I have to say. I want to thank everybody for coming, and appreciate it. I'll give you all a 10-cent tour of what we do here too. I know it's hot. I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Our air conditioner went out yesterday, and there's 3 guys working on it, 5 guys working on it. In fact, they're VIP guys. They're fellows that are transitioning from the military back to civilian life that Elaine was trying to explain to y'all. So they're patching it up right now. So again, thank you everybody, and be careful. I'm going to give you a fair warning. It doesn't matter how clean you come here. If you bump something, you're going to get dirty. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Chris. I would like to now introduce Lee Francis, Deputy Director for Virginia's League of Conservation Voters.
like to thank Elaine Luria for being an environmental champion, someone we can always count on in Congress, and for leading the way on things like offshore wind and clean energy. I'd like to thank our hosts. Thank you for having us. And I'd like to thank Blue Green Alliance for putting this all together. It's been a great partnership throughout the course of this campaign. We are truly at a turning point in how we generate energy. Virginia's been at kind of the forefront of this. We're one of the states, only state in the South with a plan to get to 100% clean energy, along with other policies. Because of these policies, 92,000 Virginians are already employed in the clean energy sector. The recent passage of things like the bipartisan infrastructure package, the Inflation Reduction Act, mean this is kind of our floor. We're going to go up from here. And offshore wind is going to play a huge role as we transition toward clean energy and create the jobs of tomorrow. We're already seeing these investments here in Hampton Roads, and we're really positioning Hampton Roads as a hub for the entire East Coast. Our ports help make that happen. The trained workforce that we have here in Hampton Roads helps make that happen. Over the next decade, so by 2030, the IRA is estimated to bring about $11.6 billion of investment in Virginia for large-scale clean energy generation like the wind farms off our coast, as well as solar, and the storage that we need to store that energy and deploy it. These are investments that can further a clean energy transition, grow our economy, and continue creating good union jobs here in Virginia. And thanks to manufacturing incentives, we can make the components here. We don't have to import them from Europe and other places. And thanks to workforce development incentives, Virginia workers can be the people installing these turbines and everything else. So also included in the IRA, I think Brendan mentioned this, is a 30% investment tax credit for offshore wind projects that pay prevailing wages and meet registered apprenticeship requirements. These are dollars that come directly to our state, and these credits are extended for 10 years, giving the industry the assurances it needs as they invest in the long term. There are also parallel efforts that ensure job quality, things that are happening at BOEM, that ensure leasing contracts require offshore wind developers to make every effort to enter into PLAs, project labor agreements, and submit a statement of goals as they create that domestic supply chain. This approach is critical as we grow this industry at a scale that we need, while also meeting our climate goals and protecting the workers that are making this revolution happen. And overall, I think the event today shows that a healthy environment and a healthy economy go hand in hand, and we can continue making that happen together. So thank you very much. I'll kick it back.
Thank you very much, Lee. I'd like to now introduce Gil Bland, the CEO of the Hampton Roads Urban League.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Special greetings to my congressperson. It's always a privilege to work with you. You have always supported our communities, and I'm glad to join in this endeavor with your leadership. I'm Gil Bland. I'm president and CEO of the Urban League of Hampton Roads. For well over a century, the Urban League has worked to provide service to communities and develop community empowerment. We know that employment is essential to build self-esteem, but also provides the resources and skills to grow healthy, independent, and interdependent communities. The Urban League believes offshore wind industry is a timely opportunity and a game changer in so many different aspects. And allow me just to tout a few observations. One, investments in offshore wind will be critical not only for meeting our deployment goals, it will also translate into a lot of good jobs, real benefits for working people and communities. Two, historically, the decline in domestic manufacturing has been devastating to the middle class, especially for Black and Hispanic workers and other workers of color. Manufacturing wages are substantially larger for median wage, non-college educated employees. And I know this, I worked with the State Council of Higher Education years ago, and we did a study and determined that 60% of future employment will be non-baccalaureate positions. So these vocational trades are critical. For example, Black workers in manufacturing earn almost 18% more than in non-manufacturing industries. It's the same for Hispanic workers. Asian American Pacific Islanders earn 14.3% more, and white workers earn 29% more. Manufacturing jobs are critical. Projects like the Hampton Roads Workforce Training System for Good Jobs are committed to preparing more workers of color and clean energy jobs across counties in Virginia and North Carolina. There are several organizations and companies, including the Urban League, to establish training pathways in blue economy careers, such as maritime engineering. The more we invest in our communities, the easier it will be for them to capture the gain of transitioning to a cleaner economy. The potential for clean energy generation and high-quality job creation in the offshore wind industry is substantial. If we make the necessary investments down the supply chain, the benefits of expanding this industry will come to the manufacturing communities ready and willing to produce the materials that makes these projects a reality. The Urban League stands as an advocate. We must also make sure that jobs in construction and maintenance are good-paying jobs and they are available to workers of color. It's vital that we get this right. Offshore wind isn't just an opportunity to power our future, it's also an opportunity to build a more equitable economy and country. That equity must be built in. It won't just happen. We need training programs like the ones we're seeing today, and we need leaders like Congresswoman Luria to guide that effort and ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be trained for a job that will give them a better life. Thank you. You can count on me.
All right, thanks, folks. Up next, I'd love to introduce the Vice President of the Virginia State Building and Construction Trades, Jason Parker.
As president, by the way.
Yeah. I was mouthing
Thank
president.
you, Chris, for having us. Thank you, Congresswoman. Worked many times with the building trades, starting off with that conformance. That was on NASA Center that helped us out so much. They were going to change our classification as electricians in Davis-Bacon surveys, and that would have devastated that particular classification's earning power. They love to unbundle the trades when it comes to that, to weaken what a trade means. But let's talk about the coastal Virginia offshore wind. As a trades, we worked hard and long with Dominion to get this thing to become from a dream to an actual project going in. And in that conversation, in that work, we focused a lot with the building trades, not only on getting a memorandum of understanding for an actual project labor agreement, which, by the way, makes those middle-class jobs because they'll be labor jobs, but also on the diversity hiring, veteran hiring, and women hiring in the trades working on it. And the reason why it was important to us is they came to us and it could have just been the actual mix of our membership that managed them to have that to satisfy the Clean Virginia Energy Economy Act. But we recognize that the city of Portsmouth could really benefit from such a project. And so we worked with Eileen Wool, we worked with various groups, including the Urban League, to try to find ways to create some form of workforce development for this particular project. Because remember, when you construct these things, they're going to get constructed, they're going to get put out, and maybe this becomes a hub for the Hampton Roads area, but they also have to go on to other projects. We always joke in the trades that we're working ourselves out of a job. I mean, we're construction workers, that's what we do. We build a project, we move on to the next one. But for these young folks to actually have the middle class trades that they could obtain, especially in my mind's eye, the young people who have come out of high school and they've come, maybe they didn't pay attention in high school, maybe it wasn't important to them, they had this dream of a life, and then they become a 24-year-old man or woman, they're sitting there and they're thinking to themselves, well, I don't think I played these cards right. They need to reinvent themselves. We want the trades to be a part of that. We know that right now when we see them come to our apprenticeships, they hit our aptitude test and they don't do so hot in them. They struggle with word problems, they struggle with the mathematics. We believe that the state of Virginia, we believe the trades, we believe that the city of Portsmouth should come together, create some kind of workforce development center that gets these people up on par, gets them their driver's license, gets them the soft skills that lets them understand how it is to be employed. And we think there is a sea of talent sitting in the men and women in the city of Portsmouth that need to be tapped and brought into this new clean energy revolution that's happening around us. So if anybody wants to talk to me afterward, I'd love to have a conversation with them, because we're very, very, very engaged in this, as is Dominion, but nobody's quite figured out how to put this together. So we're working hard on it. We believe also that when you take a look at like clean energy, like offshore wind, the nice thing about it is it's a national security item. There's no cartel that controls the wind off the coast of Virginia. It is always there. It's been there since the dinosaurs, and it'll be there long after us. So once we get these things built and we get the scale of cost correctly, you're going to see that the cost of it's actually really in line with a lot of other industries like oil, gas. No, we're not going to get rid of gas just yet, maybe never. But it will be, the energy portfolio will be like shifted in a way that works for all of us. And I believe also when you take a look at training these people, moving past the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, manufacturing is about to have another revolution. A couple things I see happening. You got geopolitical pressures that are showing us that maybe that certain industries should not be off our shores. We're seeing it already, right, with semiconductors. Well, we met with Senator Warner on Monday, out in Lebanon, Virginia, which is out there, brother, I gotta tell you. Like, I think you could actually catch a flight to Beirut in the amount of time it took to drive there. But anyways, he was talking about the CHIPS Act and other things that were going on, and I asked him a question. I said, well, what other industries represent a national security risk to the American people? And he started talking about, first of all, the pieces that go into all these different renewables, but second of all, pharmaceuticals, aviation. There's a number of items that we need to make sure there's no disruption if there's some kind of contention with foreign governance. That doesn't mean we cut all ties to them, but we need to make sure that we bring a number of those manufacturing facilities back. And remember, we lost 68,000 manufacturers from NAFTA to now. That is, the IBEW herself, which I'm a member of, 30-year member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, lost 300,000 members. Now, when you're a million-person organization, that's a lot of people to lose in a short period of time. So with those manufacturing coming back, you're going to need good tradespeople to build them, and those tradespeople from the trades always transfer into the technicians in those factories. I did it. I worked at NASA for 20 years. I'm a proof of apprenticeships. I'm a proof of what that being a tradesperson can be, and I appreciate the time. And by the way, I have to say, since I'm I'm sorry about my voice, I've been talking nonstop for 2 weeks. I'm in this wonderful apprenticeship. We come out of it with no debt, and we should always keep it that way. Tradespeople are like minor athletes. I knew a carpenter, he rolled his ankle, he crushed all the small bones in it. He was no longer a carpenter after that. So you don't want to load him up with debt and then send him out into a very physical job. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, President Jason Parker. I'd like to introduce finally somebody who's going to coordinate all of this work and make sure that we have a place to stage these massive pieces of machinery. Please welcome the Chief Development and Public Affairs Officer for the Virginia Port Authority, Kathy Dick.
Good morning, and thank you to Blue Green Alliance and to the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters for this opportunity to come together and really get excited about being partners in all of this. So thinking about what the good work that Congresswoman Luria and our other members of our delegation have done, getting the investment from port infrastructure development grants from the infrastructure bill. We have just put out a contract for $233 million worth of upgrades to the Portsmouth Marine Terminal so it can serve as the Mid-Atlantic hub for offshore wind development and the supply chain. We were able to attract the first OEM to make an investment in the United States with Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy. They will be putting a finishing facility right there on Portsmouth Marine Terminal to finish the blades that will be used for the CVAL project, but for other projects, the other 14, right? They'd like to get all of them up and down the East Coast. So we're very pleased. The construction project will create 250 jobs during construction. The Siemens Gamesa facility, a little over 300 jobs when it's up and running. But most importantly, these components cannot move by land. They can only move by water. So we have Larry Bechtel and Tommy Little with us today from the International Longshoremen other great partners who are going to move these components in and out of Portsmouth Marine Terminal. So thank you so much for the partnership of all of you. It is going to take all of us to get this done, and we're just really proud to be a part of it. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up today and talking about what a great opportunity this is. Everybody in this room really does represent a partnership that Blue Green Alliance really tries to embody of uniting labor and environmental goals. And it's just a fantastic thing to have everybody here in one room. That's sort of the end of our speaking portion. Open it up for questions for folks. I'm willing to direct if anybody has any questions, but we're just
I have one question. When are they gonna start your facility over there?
Construction will start the second week of September. Contract's been awarded, we've given notice to proceed.
I'm sorry, that is construction for at the port? Or
Yes,
construction?
for the upgrades.
Did you say 250 jobs?
During construction, yes.
I worked in that neighborhood for like 6 years, and it was a port, and it wasn't a port, and I'm glad to see something going on that spot.
Other questions? All right, I think we can maybe
If you guys would like,
get
I'll
ready
walk
for a
you
tour.
through what we do here real quick. I know it's hot.